Sometimes you feel it, a discomfort that doesn't match the facts, a hesitation around someone you've just met, a quiet resistance to a decision that looks perfect on paper. You don't have proof. You don't have language. You just know something's wrong. Carl Jung had a name for that feeling. He called it intuition, and he didn't treat it like a vague instinct or mystical gift. He saw it as one of the two core ways we perceive the world. Some people rely on sensation. They trust what they can see, touch, measure. The present moment is their anchor, but a rare type relies on intuition. They sense what isn't visible yet. Possibilities, trajectories, the hidden future inside the present. This difference became one of the foundational distinctions in the personality system that later became the MBTI, the S or N in your four-letter type. So if the intuitive path feels familiar, you might not just be perceptive. You might be designed to see what others dismiss. In this video, I'll show you 7 of the most powerful signs to test whether you might belong to what Jung called the intuitive type, and more importantly, how to use that power before it turns against you. And at the end, there's a surprise. Not a theory, not more signs, something concrete, something that might finally explain why you've always felt different. If even one of these signs hits too close, stay until the end. Let's begin. Sign 1. You don't arrive. You anticipate. Before anything happens, your body already prepares. You scan ahead. You build scenarios. You never enter a moment fully, because part of you is always bracing.
You're not paranoid. You just sense what's coming. Test 1. Do you feel like you're always a few steps ahead, even when you don't want to be?
Sign 2. You trust patterns more than people. You stopped listening to what people say. You listen to tone, inconsistency, timelines, micro-behaviors. You predict betrayal not because you're cold, but because you've seen it before. This is test 2. Did you survive enough manipulation to now see it before it begins? Sign 3. You think in symbols, systems, and invisible threads. You don't just notice details, you see how they connect. A broken sentence, a repeated number, a dream, a look, all part of the same message. Your mind doesn't process life in straight lines. It builds a web. And sometimes you can't explain it to anyone else, not because it's wrong, but because you saw the whole shape before they even noticed the pattern. Test 3. Do you often sense that meaning arrives fully formed before logic ever catches up? Sign 4. You sense a mood before a sentence. Someone walks in, and your nervous system adjusts. Not later. Instantly. You register the energy before the story. The emotion before the explanation. Test 4. Were you trained to read atmospheres because someone once made you responsible for peace? Sign 5. You remember the future, but forget your body. You live in forward time. You think in outcomes, shifts, destinies, but you forget your hands, your breath. You eat on autopilot. You dream in consequence. Test 5. Did your mind abandon the present because the present was once unbearable? Sign 6. You learn truth not by proof, but by feel. You don't need evidence. You know. You feel things lock into place or fall apart. You can't explain why. You just see it. Test 6. Do you trust that gift, or have you buried it under intellectualism to make it acceptable? Sign 7. You live under something silent that holds you to your center. It doesn't speak. It doesn't move. But it's always present. When you drift, it tightens. When you return to alignment, it lets go. You don't remember when it began, but it's shaped everything. Not as emotion, not as thought. As a pressure beneath both. You don't serve it, but you can't ignore it. Carl Jung called it the self, a structure rooted in the unconscious, shaped like a God image. It doesn't ask for praise. It doesn't care for your performance. It only tracks one thing: truth. Test 7. Have you spent your life walking beside something you couldn't explain, but never questioned? So what now? If you found yourself in most of these signs, if the patterns felt too familiar to ignore, then you're not just intuitive. You've been living through intuition without knowing how to hold it. And if that's true, this isn't a talent. It's a weight. Carl Jung didn't want you to romanticize it. He wanted you to integrate it, to bring it back into a whole self, one that doesn't drift, escape, or predict for survival. The self doesn't seek perfection. It doesn't need praise. It only wants to become whole. And that wholeness only comes through integration. This is the path of individuation, the return to center, the reunion with shadow, the grounding of fire. Because if you only name the gift and never descend, you're not intuitive. You're just haunted by accuracy. Now, here's the surprise I promised. If even one of these signs hit too close, then what you just heard wasn't a list. It was a mirror. And the answer isn't another piece of insight. It's a path. The quiet Seer Tetralogy is that path. 4 videos, not to entertain you, but to dismantle you. 10 commandments, 10 questions, 10 trials, 10 revolts. If you've been looking for something that explains your clarity, your exile, and the fire you've never been able to extinguish, this is it. It's not light content, but it's what happens when you stop looking for signs and start walking through mirrors. You won't regret it. You might not come back the same, but you'll never wish you had stayed the same. If you felt seen, if this video spoke to something you've never fully said, subscribe. Not for content, for clarity. This channel is built for people like you, the ones who read too deeply, feel too early, and hide it just enough to survive. You don't need more signs. You need a system to walk through what you've always known, but never had the words for. Start with the quiet Seer Tetralogy. Everything else is built on that fire.